JSE has seen a flurry of listings in the past 5 years, and one of those listings is EPP Properties, which is a real estate company investing in Poland. Joining us now to discuss Poland's real estate market, the appetite of South African investors for offshore markets and more is EPP Properties CEO Hadley Dean. Hadley, thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon, it's a pleasure.
And Hadley, where we can just start off, a good starting point, I think, is for you to lay out the investment case and the Polish market. You focused on the retail sector, but for our viewers, perhaps give us a brief explanation of how the Poland's property market is faring and the retail sector in particular, where you focused.
Well, look, Poland in general is one of the fastest growing economies in Europe at the moment. When you look at GDP and you average it up or add it up over from 2007 to 2017, I think you see sort of 26% increase in GDP in those 10 years. And the next competing country in Europe, number two, I think is Sweden at 11%. So Poland has been growing consistently through the last, let's say, financial crisis. This is down to many reasons, but one of the reasons is that a lot of back offices, businesses from Western Europe moved their back office and mid-office operations into Poland. And, historically, Poland's economy was really geared around Warsaw. And what we've seen in the last 10 years is the economy and the money has spread now all over the country. So what that means is it's tipping into, you have this middle class now, burgeoning middle class across the whole of Poland. And that's now tipping into, let's say, retail sales, which is continuing to develop at a circa 6 to 7% year on year. So it's a very exciting time. I think the other element when people are looking about Poland is they need to think of Poland like a young Germany. Poland is a country on the move, and a lot was said about France being on the move, but I think Poland would be more appropriate.
Yeah, and given those dynamics, Hadley, the GDP growth, retail sales that you are seeing at this moment, just what are the sort of type of retail investments are you as ECO seeing in Poland? Just what are you looking for there in that market?
Well, we're looking really at, we have three strategies on retail. So our first strategy in retail is we need to be in Warsaw. This is why the Machini acquisition of a 80,000 meter development, a retail development right at the end of the metro line in Warsaw was strategic because it gave us an entry into Warsaw in 2019. And Towarowa 22, as you'll remember, is going to be one of the largest developments in any capital city in the next, let's say, 5 years. And that's 110,000 meters, again, right on the metro line, slap bang in the middle of the city. So Warsaw was key, but we feel now with those two assets, we will own 2 out of the top 5 retail assets in Warsaw. The second element is we wanted to be in the big regional cities where we weren't. So, for example, we weren't in Krakow, so we bought Zakopanka at a yield of 10%. We think it's a cracking asset, and we believe there's a lot of asset management we can do to increase the NOI. So the other cities we're not in is, let's say, Łódź, Poznan, and Gdansk, and we will look strategically at opportunities within those cities. The third strategy is we're looking at what we call power cities. These are cities that have a catchment area of about 150,000 people, have a 15-minute drive from one side of the city to the other city, and who have over 25,000 meters, including a cinema. So no one in their right mind would ever build another shopping center in these cities. So they have a dominant catchment area that are easy to defend, particularly if they have extensions. And this is why the Blackstone portfolio, which we recently purchased, is so exciting for us, because that fits very much into that strategy. And the reason why we're so excited with these power cities is simple, is that is where the fastest increase in disposable income in percentage terms is happening in Poland.
And specifically on ECO, when you look at your property fundamentals, such as vacancies and your weighted average lease periods, just how is the portfolio faring? Because in South Africa, we do have a big challenge of vacancies being on the up as a result of sluggish economic growth. We've just been downgraded to junk by 2 major credit rating agencies. But on a property portfolio basis, can you just paint a picture for our viewers about how ECO's property portfolio is faring?
Sure. I mean, it's extremely well. I mean, our year-on-year footfall increase was at 3.3%. and that is when you compare the rest of the market at 1%. And our vacancies, I think, are around under 2% or around 2%, which is normal on a portfolio of this size, which is sort of 350,000 meters.
Yeah. And also looking at the office side, are you as bullish into Poland's office property market? Is that a key focus for Echo?
Look, it's a very good question. The benefit of offices, of course, is they typically dividend quite good income, which it's always nice. But, we're very focused on expanding our business on the retail side. And we intend to, by 2025, dominate retail in Poland. And when you're looking at a retail strategy, you either take, let's say, a linear strategy where you choose to own the top 5 shopping centers in each country you move in, or you'd go vertical. And we intend to go vertical in Poland and dominate the retail market in Poland in shopping centers of over 25,000 square meters.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the sort of, cost of debt in Poland versus yields on property? Because in South Africa, we do have a scenario of negative gearing, meaning your cost of debt is much higher than your yields on property. But is that the case in Poland?
Not at all. It's I get asked this question the whole time in South Africa, but because our average cost is we fixed it, we hedged it for over 5 years now, and our average cost of debt is, I think it's 1.85%. So, when we're telling, let's say, investors, European investors, we intend to get our LTV down to 50%, they were like, well, why? Why are you doing that? No, but look, we're very conscious that we want to bring our LTV down. We know how important it is in South Africa. It's where we're listed on the JSE, and we by 2020 we'll have our LTV down to below 50%.
Yeah, yeah. And we never talked in detail about your 2 major developments. You've got Toaroa and Galeria you're going to help me out here, Hadley, with those 2 developments. Can you just talk us about your plans there, please?
Well, certainly, as part of our 3-pronged retail strategy, Warsaw is our crucial development. It's the most exciting market. It's got the most spending power, and it's the most underserved from a per square meter perspective. So why we're so excited is that it's very difficult to build retail, new development sites. There's a moratorium across the whole of the city, which only allows for 26 retail shopping center locations. And there are 23 already built. So the Macini Shopping Centre, which is the one which will be delivered in 2019, is 80,000 metres, of which 70,000 is retail. 50% of that is already leased. And by the end of the year, we should have 65% leased. So it's a great location. It's right at the end of the metro. You have 40,000 people who use that metro location, because it's not just a metro location, it's a tram location, it's a bus stop, it's a huge trans node. So we're very excited about that. And in 2021, the Towarowa 22 project will be up and running. We're currently going through zoning on that, and we're speaking to the city, and we're making, let's say, sort of strides to sort of understand what they want, and for them to understand what we want, and things are going well. But we're very much at the initial stage. But the plan is to create something really unique for Warsaw, a real modern 5th generation city centre experience, which combines retail with the community, with a huge 1.5 hectare park, where we'll be holding events, and we'll probably be doing Red Bull skiing competitions off the roof. I mean, it really will be a destination.
Yeah, sounds like you've got your hands full. But 2 last questions, Hadley, before I let you go. As I mentioned in my intro, there has been quite a flurry of offshore listings on the JSE. I think investors now have close to 20 offshore offerings on the JSE. But what has been the investor response to EPP since listing? And is there appetite for the Polish market from South African investors?
I believe so. Otherwise we wouldn't have listed in Johannesburg. And I think, one of the great things about a lot of people ask why, let's say, so many South Africans are investing into Polish real estate. It's a bit, the South African economy and investors understand real estate. It's sort of in your DNA. It's in your blood. It's a bit like in the UK. Owning property is almost a fundamental right. Yeah. And so you have a very, very mature market, but also you have a lot of similarities with the Polish market in the fact that it's a very quickly developing country. So to answer your question, we have, since listing in September, we have bought 7 new retail locations and 4 office buildings. We've successfully had 2 equity raises totaling 250 million euros, which were heavily oversubscribed. And I think people believe in what we are doing, because we are the 4 Ps. We are a pure Polish property play, and we're not trying to be anything clever. We want to dominate retail in Poland. And we believe by specializing in one country and dominating that one country, it'll give us, our clients and our tenants, the economies of scale that are required in a competitive market.
Yeah. And lastly, you've made 2 key appointments to the board. Can you just talk us through how significant are those appointments, given their business pedigrees, in fact?
Well, Premek Krik is the founding partner of Griffin Properties, which is obviously heavily involved with the sale of EPP to Redefine. And they also retained a significant stake themselves. And Premek Krik is one of the most successful business people in Poland. And one of our strengths is, we are a local business. I may sound British, but I've just applied for a Polish passport. So we're focused. We're focused on Poland 100%. And Jacek Baginski is our new CFO. And Jacek brings 20 years of, let's say, listed retail CFO experience. So he has been the CFO of one of the largest retailers in Poland. So it's also extremely important that we understand who our clients and what our clients are thinking. So that's a very significant appointment too.